Are we gonna see if YouTube gonna let me do this live? Because they keep shutting my stuff down. So trying to do something. Wake up, Israel News, Chris Tudor. Oh, 1 second. Okay. Trying to find my report right here. Share. Hopefully you can hear me. I'm gonna share my audio, so hopefully you can hear me. All right, that's fine. I don't have no guests today, but I do have the Most High God just to show some evidence. I ain't want to try to see you right now. Damn. All right. If it ain't COVID resurfacing, it's Hurricane Idol. Like American Idol. I guess how you pronounce it. It's Idol or Idol, whatever. It seemed like that the Most High is inconvenienced people festivities, so to speak, especially Esau's. And some of you Hebrews out there too. But I just wanted to show this video. That's all. Watch the video.
Good morning, guys. Craig and I are coming on the air early to bring you the very latest on Hurricane Ida. That storm, which packed an incredible punch, was a Category 4, right now weakening, but remains a very dangerous threat at this moment. Craig.
Here's where things stand right now. Ida making landfall in Louisiana on Sunday as a strong Category 4 hurricane, just 7 miles per hour shy of a Cat 5. Winds reaching about 150 miles per hour. And the surge of water caused devastating flooding. Overnight, some people were told to get to higher ground immediately.
Yeah, there are a lot of people, by the way, Craig, who are like begging for rescue at this hour. Louisiana is also dealing with what's described as a catastrophic power failure. That means 1 million people in New Orleans, the entire city of New Orleans, in the dark. And that's where we're going to start off our coverage with Al Roker. Al, what's the latest there?
Well, guys, I will tell you, I look all around and we can hear the sound of generators, but
I want you guys to pay close attention.
The rain has stopped.
Pay close attention to the sign behind him. Now hiring, apply within Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
But of course, that.
Well, now Hurricane Ida have put the hiring process on freeze. Sorry for the inconvenience, Esau.
That means we've got still a lot of devastation. It's dark. We don't really have an idea until the sun comes up of what we are going to see. We were hunkered bunker down in our hotel. There was a lot of flooding in and around our region. Here we're in downtown New Orleans. And let's take a look. You get a sense of the power of this system. The strongest winds gusts, right where Ida came on shore, Port Fourchon. Allegedly, we had 172 mile per hour wind gust. Grand Isle, 146. Dulac, 138. New Orleans, here in New Orleans, 87 miles per hour wind gust, and that's tough. We've got a lot of, we've heard about skyscrapers, windows getting blown out, a real mess here. Latest right now, Ida's 95 miles south-southwest, Jackson, Mississippi, 60 mile per hour winds. It's moving north at 8 miles per hour. This is going to be a slow mover and a high impact storm, even though it's losing its tropical characteristics. Today, slowly moving across Mississippi. Got a tornado risk still across the Gulf. Tomorrow, that moisture is going to merge with a front, increasing the flood risk for Kentucky and Tennessee, because that region's been soaked with heavy rain. And by Wednesday, it's into the mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast, continuing this record-setting wet summer. And then by Thursday, moves off the Jersey coast late in the day. Heaviest rain will be across New England. So a real mess, guys. We're talking rainfall still stretching from the Gulf all the way to New England of about 5 to 7 more inches, with 55 million people under flood watch.
Yeah, Al, what's interesting about what New Orleans did post-Katrina was they really fortified that city. They put up big levees and all the rest. And this ended up being a big wind event. But there are places that have water issues. So with power being out, what's the story with the pumps and pumping out the water with the issues with the power?
Well, you know, they do have emergency backups, but the problems right now, like, for example, in our hotel, the water's running, but we don't know whether it's potable or not. And they, quite frankly, don't know. They're telling people that EMS is down, that if you've got an emergency, nobody's coming. They really don't have a sense of what the state of the city is right now, because communications are down. It is a disaster right now. One of the major power lines that comes into the city is a big transmission tower. It's gone. I mean, literally is gone. So nobody, in fact, right now, a lot of the cell service towers are gone. It's a city that's cut off right now.
Yeah. Well, Al, thank you so much.
Let's just rewind a little bit what he said again, so we can just get an idea what he's trying to tell us. I know some of you probably ain't paying attention.
Right now, one of the major power lines that comes into the city is a big transmission tower. It's gone. I mean, literally is gone. So nobody, in fact, right now, a lot of the cell service towers are gone. It's a city that's cut off right now.
Yeah. Well, Al, thank you so much.
We'll come back to you in just a bit, buddy. Thank you. Let's turn now to NBC News senior national correspondent Tom Llamas, also in New Orleans, tracking all of the overnight developments. Tom, what's the scene there?
Hey guys, good morning to you. Yeah, the big story, the big headline out of New Orleans right now is the power outages you guys were just talking about with Al, but there has been some significant structural damage. I want to show you just behind me. We are on Decatur and Toulouse. This is one of those famous balconies of the French Quarter, and this is a combination, this destruction right here is a combination of a traffic light, a balcony, some roofing, and an awning of Laura's Candies, which is a famous candy shop here in the French Quarter. I'm going to also ask my photographer, Bill Angelucci, if you can zoom in to this black hole just behind us. Guys, this is the French Quarter right now. There is no power whatsoever. Not a single light is on. I have never seen New Orleans this dark. The only light you're seeing right now is from our television lights, from our camera lights. It is spooky. It is eerie. It is definitely scary here in the French Quarter right now. The police are out and about, so it is still somewhat safe. But as soon as your car lights turn on, you see glass, you see windows, broken doors all along the floor. I have a lot of friends and relatives here in New Orleans. A lot of them evacuated. Some of them didn't, but they're all trying to text and email right now. And the problem is, as Al mentioned, there's some cell towers down. AT&T right now seems not to be working. Verizon in New Orleans seems to be working. AT&T, though, you cannot get a phone call out. You can't get an email out. You can't get a text out. So there's a lot of confusion right now. Mass power outages. A lot of the hospitals throughout New Orleans also suffered some structural damage. I'm told that a lot of the patients from Louisiana Ochsner Health, which is the largest hospital system in the Southeast, I'm told their patients are okay, but there were some some hospitals that had to transport patients out from their Bayou hospitals because it just got too dangerous. We also know that there were some elderly citizens of New Orleans and the Metairie Towers that had to be evacuated as well. So just a really, really scary scene here in New Orleans. I'm getting texts of people asking, how bad is New Orleans? Guys, it's bad. The problem is we just don't know how bad.
And we won't probably until the sun starts to come up there to a certain extent. Tom, thank you.
And I think an interesting thing, Tom, that you pointed out was the hospitals. There was a hospital in Thibodaux that lost power, lost a generator, and literally nurses and doctors were handbagging, pumping so that they can get oxygen into their systems. Tom, we're going to learn a lot more at First Light, so we'll be talking back with you in just a bit. Let's bring in Morgan Chesky. He's in Houma, Louisiana. Houma is just about an hour's drive from New Orleans. That was right smack dab in the path of this storm. Morgan, what do you have?
Yellow Pop makes the grooviest LED neon signs. I have always
Yeah, Hoda, we're actually just south of Thibodaux, where you mentioned that hospital had to save those patients' lives by hand. And I have to tell you, we know that we won't see the true extent of the damage till the sun comes up. But as we pull out, this is just one building on one block of one community that is left absolutely crippled by Ida. And what's even beyond frustrating for a lot of these first responders is that they don't know how bad it is either. And in every direction they go to, they're getting flat tires. We had a chance to check in with the police department as we made our way through.
Did you hear that? They can't even maneuver around.
It is either. And in every direction they go to, they're getting flat tires. We had a chance to check in with the police department as we made our way through this town with power poles down and power lines blocking streets. And they had to leave many of their homes themselves that either took on water or had roofs ripped right off. And this is the extent of the damage that we're going to be seeing from these wind gusts that were recorded here, upwards of 140 miles an hour. Part of the problem here in Houma and some of the surrounding area is that this was a place that part of the eye wall essentially got stuck from Ida, which unleashed those devastating winds for hours at a time. And that is why, as bad as it is right now, there is a sickening feeling that it will only get worse. I spoke to a Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's deputy last night. I said, is this as bad as Gustav? He says, this is the worst I've ever seen. Send it back to you.
Yeah, and in fact, that sentiment, the worst that they've ever seen. Well, we were talking to some different officials from New Orleans in that area who went through Katrina. They said this one feels so much worse than that did. I mean, again, this is just in the moment, the aftermath, of course, still ahead.
And Houma, especially hard hit.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, they lived there. He's stationed.
Well, let's see what she said.
Area who went through Katrina.
Ever seen. Send it back to you.
Yeah, and in fact, that sentiment, the worst that they've ever seen. Well, we were talking to some different officials from New Orleans in that area who went through Katrina. They said this one feels so much worse than that did. I mean, again, this is just in the moment, the aftermath, of course, still ahead.
And Houma, especially hard hit.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, they live there. He's stationed there in the Coast Guard. They've been checking in with friends. And to your point earlier, the wind damage is going to be the story, especially there in Houma. Morgan Chesky for us. Morgan, thank you.
Just about 30 miles from New Orleans is Jefferson Parish. That, by the way, the most populated parish in the state, one of the hardest hit areas in the storm. Cynthia Lee Shang, president of the parish there. Cynthia, it's good to see you. I know the last time I heard you speak, you talked about people who were chest deep in water and waiting for rescue. That was such a dire situation. I know there's a situation on Grand Isle. That's the island right there on the outskirts of New Orleans. A lot of people have seen that. What have you been hearing from those people who are in desperate need right now?
So Hoda, unfortunately, we still have not made contact with people in Grand Isle. We lost contact yesterday. Now with the phone service down, it's still dark outside. Our teams are ready to go out. They're assembling now. They have their maps.
It's 12:44.
That they're going to.
I think it's 11:44 Louisiana.
The initial focus this morning will be going to Lafitte, Barataria, Crown Point area. We have had a lot of rescue requests there. We are, thank God, ending what I think was a terribly frightening night for many individuals who were waiting for their rescue. It was just dark, just complete darkness outside. And of course, the winds were still there. So, I poked my head out last night, and it was frightening just where I am to just hear the noise, the wind, and in the complete darkness. So can you imagine being stranded? And that's where, this is just that night of hell is going to be over with tonight for these people when the light comes up. And thank God for that. But we have been ready to get out here. Today is the day we're going to see the damage, and we're going to know how long of a recovery it's going to take for us. But it has been a long, day and a long night.
Parish President Sheng, there were reports that a levee failed there in Jefferson County. What more can you tell us about that? And also, I know there's some concern about the barges as well becoming unmoored.
Again, all of this is in the Lafitte area that I'm talking about. No, I think one of the stations reported that a levee failed. That's very different from levee overtopping. So, a word I got this morning, and it was verified by our mayor, Mayor Tim Kerner Jr., is that the levees were overtopped. So there was no structural failure of the levees. It's just the water was higher than the levee that was built. And that is the confirmation that I got this morning. And they have a bridge that connects parts of Lafitte to Barataria and Crown Point. This is a bridge that gives us problems because we have had vessels, barges hit this bridge before in other hurricane situations. And again, it happened yesterday. It's I think two boats or two vessels hit it. One of them, I'm told, sunk. But the bridge cannot be used, and it'll be out for several months. I mean, we're going to have to rebuild that. So even when we rebuild, those people we're going to have to ferry those people back and forth to their homes for quite some time, for several months.
Well, I want to Jefferson Parish President Cynthia Lee Sheng, I just want to tell you something. We're praying for you. We're thinking about you. I know y'all working real hard there. Okay, and
I know your heart is with us, Hoda. I know that.
You know it. All right. Best of luck. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're going to stay with NBC News.
There was a story of a man getting eaten by the alligator yesterday, and his wife was. I think she saw her husband getting attacked. I gotta find it. I had to find it, show you guys, but let's look at this first.
What house is that? You all right, buddy? Got a lot of people worried about you, so we came check you out.
Tonight, Ida's fury coming into focus after pounding southern Louisiana. The desperate rescue effort now underway. The area is cut off from the world right now. The harrowing stories of survival. Our team on the ground tonight in Louisiana.
This entire town is submerged.
And tonight, the devastating storm is moving north. A city without power, a catastrophic transmission failure in New Orleans fueling concern about drinking water, and sewage failures as a city of nearly 1 million is now in the dark. And it could be weeks, not days, until the power is back. Our Victor Oquendo in New Orleans tonight. And what comes next for this massive storm? Why did it pummel so many communities? And how did it strengthen so rapidly? Our chief meteorologist, Ginger Z, is also on the ground in New Orleans. Overseas tonight, the final U.S. evacuation flight has left Afghanistan. The frantic multi-week evacuation now over. Tens of thousands brought to safety. The Pentagon says planes left at a rate of nearly 1 every 20 minutes. Hundreds of Afghans crowding the airport gates. But were any Americans left behind? And what about the Afghan allies Americans were not able to get out? Tonight, California's crown jewel, Lake Tahoe, under threat as the Caldor fire rapidly intensifies. Flames tearing through part of a beloved ski resort.
Now Lake Tahoe is on fire. Dixie Fire is still going on. Hurricane Ida is moving towards Alabama, up towards Tennessee right now with more floods to come and the power outages. I was at UPS today. That's when I'm at this youth. This is my second time at this UPS. It seemed like a certain group of people, as a whole, don't wear their mask. Even the workers were wearing their masks. In Noonan, Georgia. You know anything about Noonan? There ain't really much to talk about. It's okay. Everything's an inconvenience for Esau. Your black ass existing and cooking a cheeseburger is an inconvenience for Esau. They call these Karens, whatever you call these that people. Not everybody's not like that. You know, people are very nice. As a whole, people can be nice. But you have, in general, a collective group of people within a race that's they're so spoiled with white supremacy that your black ass an inconvenience. Your just existence, living. That's why they call the cops on you for no reason. Biblically, but it's some good people out here, man. Let's just say that. All right, there's some good people out. But look at the havoc that's going on. The hospitals in Atlanta right now, I think the ERs in the hospitals is about 90% full. And then I keep hearing saying this crate stuff. People go on crates and they fall to their death. They face plant, chest plant. I mean, I know heard of a fun game, but like that's not really fun if you're gonna bust your face wide open. Everything is not a game. None of us is perfect, but there's so much destruction going on as we speak all over the world. You know what would really put the icing on the cake is an earthquake, a major earthquake in America. We haven't had one. I mean, you get the 5.4s and the 5.8s. I don't think we had a 6-point-something earthquake in America, have we? In the last 20, 25 years? Well, I know we had a 7. If it is, somebody remind me of when we had it. But the Most High, he's still putting in work. Now, Hurricane Ida happened the same day Katrina. People talk about global warming. People talking about HAARP and trolling the weather pattern. I know about the chemtrails. Everybody, not everybody, but a lot of us know about the chemtrails. Know about chemicals in the water, with Fukushima, chemicals on food, clothing, in the air. But when judgment is right in your face, this is the 29th. Yesterday was the 29th, right? Well, no, yesterday was 30th. It's 1 o'clock Georgia time. I'm doing this late. Today is the 31st. But Sunday was the 29th, right? Sunday was 29th. Exactly the same day Katrina happened. What a coincidence, right? Like the video, seen the video.
And now South Lake Tahoe, usually filled with tourists, under an evacuation order tonight. The urgent push to slow the flames and save a beautiful lakeside community. Good evening, everyone. I'm Phil Lipoff in for Lindsay Davis tonight. Thanks so much for streaming with us. Tonight, we are following the breaking news out of Afghanistan. The last U.S. plane has left Kabul. Our team standing by tonight with more on the final chapter of America's longest war. But first, we begin tonight with Hurricane Ida's wrath and the desperate search for survivors in areas still underwater at this hour. Ida making landfall early yesterday in Port Fourchon, Louisiana, as a powerful Category 4 storm, winds of up to 150 miles per hour, gusts of more than 70 miles per hour. The storm stalling for hours over southeast Louisiana, walloping communities, putting entire neighborhoods underwater, and forcing some residents to attics, even roofs. The wind causing a catastrophic transmission failure in New Orleans. Tonight, nearly all of a city of about 1 million people is in the dark, and it could be that way for days or even weeks. But tonight, the major concern is for the areas that aren't yet reachable or only by boat. How many people may be in need of urgent help? We have team coverage from Louisiana tonight. Our Victor Oquendo in New Orleans, Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z standing. Concern is for the areas that aren't yet Louisiana, walloping communities, putting entire neighborhoods underwater and forcing some residents to attics, even roofs. The wind causing a catastrophic transmission failure in New Orleans. Tonight, nearly all of a city of about 1 million people is in the dark, and it could be that way.
I'm gonna pause this video. I'm just throwing this in there. A buddy of mine back in the day went to Puerto Rico. And I think about both our first time being in Puerto Rico. So we got there like at night. So we asked the guy, after we left the airport, then we went to we had like a little house, like a little apartment, so to speak. No house, like apartment. I was like a room, because I don't remember having a kitchen. I don't think they had a kitchen, but I knew it had a room and a bathroom. And but either when we left the airport and we unpacked and left the apartment. But we asked the guy to take us to the nearest area that be be jumping, party and stuff, right? So this guy take us to this area like this, but it was older buildings, like it was like the old Spanish buildings, about 3 floors. And these buildings went from all the way down there, all the way up there in this alley, down there. We was like, and it was a building right here. So there was a building here, like this building. There's another across the street. Then it was like up here buildings, like an older, old town. But it was dark. If you ever been out to any city, when you ask somebody to take you out like a cab driver, right? Take us to where everybody partying at, where is it happening, He took us to a place, a little area like this. It was pitch black. It's like it wasn't no lights nowhere. But like when we got out of the car, we looked around. It seemed like that Will Smith movie. I think I Am Legend. Like zombies was gonna come out because it was like everything just seemed so dead. And we looked at that dude. We said, "Man, take us back to the guy to to our place or towards is more light than this, man. Because I don't know what the hell you're trying to do. It's like you're trying to set us up, right? But looking at that, how dark it is, it reminds me of a place in Puerto Rico. This taxi cab driver took us, and it was like everything was like dark. I never forget that. I mean, it was like, and I don't remember it. They said it was a storm in Puerto Rico. It was just dark, you know. I don't know if everybody was on curfew or what, but it's like he tried to set us up for the okie doke. But that little area reminded me of Puerto Rico. Well, I don't know where he took us, but it did.
Wait for days or even weeks. But tonight, the major concern is for the areas that aren't yet reachable or only by boat. How many people may be in need of urgent help? We have team coverage from Louisiana tonight. Our Victor Oquendo in New Orleans. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee standing by with where Ida is headed next. But first, our Matt Gutman leads us off tonight on the frantic search for life.
Hurricane Ida slamming Louisiana as a monstrous Category 4 with reported wind gusts topping 170 miles per hour. And tonight, the scope of the destruction becoming easier to see, but harder to bear. Entire communities almost wiped off the map. More than 1 million customers now without power. The outages could last for weeks, and officials fear the death toll will rise.
There's somebody in there, I think.
The massive search and rescue operation ramping up since the storm hit. This woman pulled out of her flooded car. We traveled to hard-hit La Place, just west of New Orleans. Rescuers in boats and helicopters desperately trying to reach those trapped in flooded homes. Where the town had been, now a lake, accessible only by boat and by aircraft. Scenes defying the imagination. The hurricane toppling semi-trucks, submerging cars. Helicopters swooping down, landing on Interstate 10 to scoop up the most vulnerable, including that woman in the wheelchair. As we arrived, we saw the storm's refugees walking off that exit ramp, carrying what was most dear. Some of them trying to hitch rides from strangers. All of them hoping to get to safety. Michael from the Cajun Navy offered to take us in.
This entire town is submerged. We're driving on the main street.
And there we saw a flotilla of small boats on the water, carrying out the stranded and the exhausted. And it was on dry land that we met these two.
You guys didn't expect it would be this bad, did you?
We didn't expect it to be this bad, and we stayed because we were in a two-story home, and we thought we would have been safe. The rain just kept coming. It wouldn't stop coming. The rain wouldn't stop.
We pushed further into La Place, seeing entire neighborhoods submerged.
When you at God's mercy, there's nothing you can do. And some people can't leave. They can't afford to leave. So they stay there. And some people just don't want to leave. They don't believe that the storm is going to do what it's going to do. But we're in the year of judgment. You know how many floods it's been so far in the United States? Now, I haven't did a live in a while. And I want to say something because YouTube is kind of, I don't know who's behind the scene with these damn YouTube coordinators, but my account wasn't going through my videos, man. Hopefully this will go through. But I did videos 2 years ago on the floods in the Middle East, Iran, Brazil. After those floods is coming to America, not the floods with this hurricane stuff, just regular thunderstorms, regular rainstorms, floods. And Middle Tennessee, that was in Pennsylvania and parts of America, there's been floods everywhere. Not just this hurricane, just a regular flood, just a thunderstorm, regular system. So we shouldn't expect anything less from Hurricane Ida from this year of the floods. Because let's go back and let's see how she's looking. Hold on a second. Listen.
That we met these two.
You guys didn't expect it would be this bad, did you?
We didn't expect it to be this bad, and we stayed because we were in a two-story home, and we thought we would have been safe. The rain just kept coming. It wouldn't stop coming. The rain wouldn't stop.
We pushed further into La Place, seeing entire neighborhoods submerged. The stranded flagging down anyone with a boat.
Look where the line at. That's where the water was at.
Jackie and Denise Cooper's mother, Lucille, is disabled and they asked me to help get her down the stairs.
You guys gonna come back?
No.
Did you think at any point that you might not make it?
Yeah?
Michael had gone back to get help. He needed more boats. Sure enough, within half an hour, he was back. We then drove to the hard-hit city of Homa.
Look at
On the way, so much destruction. That pair of helicopters flying low, looking for survivors. Ida tearing across Grand Isle like a buzzsaw. New images tonight showing the barrier island underwater. Officials tonight still haven't been able to reach many of the dozens of people who stayed behind there in defiance of mandatory evacuation orders, but helicopter crews reportedly saw people on their rooftops giving the thumbs up. Just over 30 miles from there, the Coast Guard surveying the damage near Galliano for the first time. Homes shredded, roads flooded. This chopper flying a patient to a hospital. At least one levee was overtopped in Plaquemines Parish, south of the city, and reports of people trapped in their attics in Jefferson Parish.
This is an area that, if you want to think of it like swampland, there's alligators out there.
Our Ginger Z in nearby Jefferson
The bayou,
Parish,
right? What they
south
call
of
it?
New Orleans.
The town of Lafitte has one way in and one way out, and that one way is covered by water. They are protected up to 7 feet. Their levees were overtopped during the storm.
Rescuers doing everything they can to reach survivors.
From house to house, we're going past them, and if people want to be evacuated, we're putting them on the boats to get them out.
President Biden declaring a major disaster in Louisiana, promising a vast federal response.
That's our job. If we work together, we're going to stand with you and the people of the Gulf as long as it takes for you to recover.
And tonight, the concern in the hours ahead is the people still stuck in their homes without 911 and without power. Many now turning to social media.
Right now, we're checking on everybody that we can.
Concerned families messaging Vincent Ocello over Facebook, asking him to check on their missing loved ones. And stranded residents reportedly giving a thumbs up to the Coast Guard waiting to get out.
Matt Gutman joins us now from Homa. Matt, we can see some destruction behind you. Walk us through just how difficult it is to move around in that area and how that could be hampering rescue efforts.
It absolutely is hampering rescue efforts, Phil. I can't tell you how many telephone poles we saw that are down. You can see this tree completely obliterated by the storm, trees down everywhere. Roads are impassable, and the infrastructure damage is so significant, especially when you're talking about the power grid, but also phone towers. So there's no communication, makes rescue efforts very, very difficult. We even saw officers from State Patrol on the roadways who said even our radios aren't working. They were listening to the radio in the dashboard of their vehicles to try to get information. So still very chaotic, but lots of people out here, everybody helping out from almost every imaginable agency, Phil.
Matt, you've been out there all day tracking the rescue effort. We even saw you in your story there helping one woman out yourself. What struck you the most out of everything you've seen so far?
I think it was the synergy, Phil, in Laplace, you know, that town that was completely submerged. We jumped in with the Cajun Navy. There were all these people. They didn't know each other. They just came out to where they thought people might need help, and that's what they did. So they were scooping anybody they could into the boats, even until the boats were really sinking in the water, taking them to that interstate. People were trudging up the interstate, getting to the top of that ramp, and then these Coast Guard helicopters, National Guard helicopters, landing on the interstate to scoop these people up and take them to safety in New Orleans or a hospital, wherever they were taking them, but clearly out of harm's way. That sort of encapsulates everything, the thousands of guardsmen and agents from local and federal agencies, just the synergistic effort that is very organic at this point. Hundreds of people have been rescued, I'm told. Certainly the Cajun Navy is going to continue working until it's very dark, and they're going to pick right back up in the morning, Phil.
A true team effort it will take. Matt Gutman, thanks so much. All right, joining us now on the phone is State Representative Jerome Zerang, who represents Homa, one of the communities that bore the brunt of this storm. First of all, Representative, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Hello, Phil. Thanks for having me.
Before we get to your area, you live in the area that you represent, obviously. So let's talk about how are you? How's your family? What have the last 48 hours been like for you personally?
Well, like for most people around here, it was rough with the storm passing through. Fortunately, I got most of my family out. We stayed behind. My wife and I stayed behind and just rode it out. But we are blessed to the degree that we are fine. Our house is still up. You know, like everybody else's, it took a little damage, but we're here, we're safe, and we have a roof, unlike a lot of people around here.
16 years ago, when Katrina hit, places like Bay St. Louis and Waveland, Mississippi, took the brunt of that storm as it came onto shore. Your community did the same this time. We understand that there are reports of damage all over the community. Can you describe it to us?
It has, within Terrebonne Parish, other states have counties, but within our parish, there's extensive damage here, but also to the east as well in Lafourche and heading toward Grand Isle. But,
Hurricane Rita, Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Ida. It's something about when the letter A is in these hurricanes, it raised havoc. Kind of like the names in the Bible. Ezekiel, Obadiah, Jeremiah, Isaiah. All these names that the A is very vital. Yah. Is, I pay attention to stuff like that. That the letter A is like, and I said, this thing gonna be pretty bad. We don't know how bad it is right now until tomorrow, but I don't want to do this video too long. Just a little bit longer, and then we just call it a day.
Our community took the extensive wind force. The eye passed just to the east of us, so we were in the eye wall or just adjacent to the eye wall throughout most of the storm. We were registering over 120 mile an hour wind for over 3 hours, constant. So we were just, getting beat. Our community was getting beat pretty bad. And the lower lying areas closer to the Gulf took significant hits as well.
Representative, when you were getting hit like that, I don't think a lot of people, unless they have been through it, have actually experienced and can know what that is like. Those winds, that mile per hour for that long, what was that like? What did it sound like?
You hear from different people who describe it in different ways, and it's like anything else. It's kind of like what my wife often says about childbirth. You can explain it to people until you experience it. You really can't appreciate it. And similarly, unless you feeling the house shake and you're hearing the roar of the wind and the
I'm gonna forward this a little bit.
The windows rattling and it's just constant. And I was just over at the EOC. As the storm passed, we are going to have typical summertime weather, and that's thunderstorms usually in the afternoon when it heats up. So a lot of the roofs are exposed now, and there's going to be persistent rain. So tarps, ice, food, trying to get grocery stores and basic services back online. But for the most part, those are the basic things: food and ice and water right now.
And Representative, that's what happens in a normal year. That area sees so many hurricanes. People know how to deal with it, but this is in the middle of a pandemic. How does that complicate things?
Yeah, and there's no doubt in Louisiana, you experience it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. I mean, the unfortunate reality is whenever a named storm enters the Gulf of Mexico, the highest probability of it making landfall is Louisiana. So we deal with this, unfortunately, and we help each other out. That's part of the culture, the people. We know we're going to deal with this, and we get together as a community, and we help each other out. But you're right, with the pandemic, it just exacerbates the problems that we have. And not only that, it also for support services. I can understand and fully appreciate when we're in a pandemic, when we have first responders, and that's why I have the utmost respect and admiration for the people who are willing to leave their families and help out to come not only after a storm under normal conditions, but on top of a pandemic and exposing yourself to that. So we know it's going to be a challenge, and it will be, and that just exacerbates the problem. But we're so thankful for all the first responders and the people who are willing to sacrifice and come and help us out. We do need help, but we're very appreciative and thankful for the fact that there are people who are willing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much help, even down to, like the Cajun Army, the folks who drive around in boats and rescue.
In the dark, the utilities rebuilt after Katrina did not hold. This massive transmission tower mangled, power lines falling into the Mississippi River. Ida damaging all 8 transmission lines that supply the New Orleans area with electricity. Here's a look at Hurricane Ida's aftermath. This power pole crashing right down on top of this car. It also looks like it snapped in half. You've got these down lines. They stretch clear across the block. And then take a look at that house down there. Another pole coming down right on the roof. Leah Marchand had power until 7 p.m. And then
I screamed. It was a big, huge flash. And then there was traveling fireballs arcing up and down the lines.
You saw this happening?
Yes, they were green and purple and orange.
Officials say the pumps that keep the floodwater out of New Orleans are running on generators, and the levees and flood walls built after Katrina held.
The worst case scenario, it did not happen. However, the impact is absolutely significant.
High winds blowing off roofing and shattering hospital windows. Ochsner Health says they're transferring 165 hospital patients out of hard-hit zones.
We got some of the water and the mechanicals, and that's why we're evacuating the facility until we can make sure we got everything tuned up and ready to go again.
With hospitals in Louisiana and much of the Gulf Coast filled with COVID patients, they had to shelter in place. And hospitals reinforced after Katrina largely held too. Generators keeping the power going.
Victor Oquendo joins me now from New Orleans. Victor, we saw those images of hospitals sustaining damage and the evacuations. Tell us, how are the hospitals doing right now?
Phil, we've checked in with several hospitals in the region. Many of them did lose power, and they are running off of generators. Some sustained external damage, and those in the really hard-hit areas did have to transport some of their patients, but other hospitals have pitched in to help. And while the circumstances are incredibly difficult, it does seem like the plan that they had in place is working. Phil?
Were you able to see yourself as you drove around the city and the region today?
There were so many parts of Ida that make it unique. I would go ahead and start with this. If you look at, what we're standing in front of here, there are buildings here that made it through Katrina, and then they did not in this one. The power grid going down again. Beyond here, places like Lafitte, Louisiana, one of the parishes, all the parishes that did not have levee protection to the extent that New Orleans does, they had never seen this much water. They have protection to 7 feet. They certainly overtopped. That is where people were in their attics, or at least reportedly so. We tried to get in there today. There were lots of rescue boats, but a lot of, it seemed, confusion. And then when you walk around the streets in New Orleans, I think the biggest concern is that people say, listen, how long are we talking when it comes to power? Because if we lost one of the main components to our power grid, is it going to be weeks? Could it be more than a month? When power goes, water gets really short. They're already asking people to hold back on water, and then sewage is a concern too. So a true human crisis potentially developed.
Caldor Fire gets dangerously close to the popular Lake Tahoe region. The surge of children sick with COVID just as more and more return to the class.
One second.
And when we come back, more evacuations being ordered as the massive Caldor Fire gets dangerously close to the popular Lake Tahoe region. The surge of children sick with COVID just as more and more return to the classroom. But up next, the end of our longest war, the historic moment, which would have taken up much of our show on any other night. We're going to have a lot more.
And look at that damn
20
airplane.
years of fighting in Afghanistan. Next.
And it's a big ass plane.
With so much at stake, so much on
That was
the
a
line,
military
more
plane. I know that.
Americans turn here.
Just
than
to look at it,
anyplace else.
still like,
ABC
damn,
News,
big
World
plane.
News Tonight with David. Right now, with so
5 years. How do you do that?
Now, join the search, following the U.S. Marshals as they uncover new leads in a global manhunt. Can you help catch this fugitive? Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Have you seen this man?
Is imagined. Many emails since August 14th. They solved problem after problem to keep the mission moving forward. U.S. service members in Kabul did heroic work, securing the airport, protecting civilians and many national.
All right, wait, I'm just cutting it short. See something. My guy sent me something. I don't know what it's at. It's all good. Y'all get the point. Stop sharing. Got 4 people watching. Okay. I didn't know I had 4 people watching, but that's all. I don't want to stay on too late. So there is so many people dying from bodybuilding. Like I went to this bodybuilding show, Tampa, and down there, a lady died. I think she died before she went on stage. They are giving these people too much chemicals to get all cut up, dry and shit. You know, you see every muscle fiber, all that shit. They passed the hell out of it. The guy that was her coach, I think 5 or 6 people died up under his coach as he coached them. He giving them all type of heavy, like strong drugs, very strong drugs. All right, Louisiana. Saw somebody say they were from Louisiana. We're gonna get more in detail on trying to find something that was like 3 hours. I saw that. Let's look at this drone footage right here. I didn't know I had people watching, but let's watch this. There's no sound. Worry about it. Look at that. That was what, 4 hours ago? It's like 1:22 in Georgia, so I know it was like 12:22 in Louisiana. Wait a minute, I'm not sure. Wait a minute, wait. I'm sorry. I wouldn't even share my damn screen. Damn. Wait a minute. What was that, fam? Now I gotta find this sucker again. Look at that. Look at that. Hold on, go back. I didn't even have a thing. Look at that. I know it's late, guys. I wasn't even planning on doing a video on YouTube. I said, let me just do a video and on the devastation. With all that. Look at that. Give me a thumbs up. You can see my screen. That car on fire? Wait a minute. What the hell? You see that? Wait a damn minute. Like the car's on fire. They would have asked my black ass that. Where you from? Atlanta. Or you just visiting New Orleans? Yeah. So what's your damn point? All right, sir. License and registration, please. They didn't get this man. No, I know they ain't got nothing to do with it, but I'm just how they handle each other. It's like, damn. He'll say, thank you, sir, for your service. He from Italy. Can you imagine though what they going through? And this is at night. Look at her right here. Not one time she looked over. Just keep looking outside like what's on her mind? I know the hurricanes on her mind, but I bet she got other things on her mind as well. I can only imagine. So I don't know if we talked to a cop or what. I want y'all to listen to this. Now, already, they said like 1 or 2 people died so far they know of. But this brother said this guy who they dealt with, he passed. But was he one of the ones that passed that they counted was the ones they was counting? Or no? Because if that dude it passed and they tried to revive him, it didn't work. There's probably so many other people that passed that we don't know about to like probably the next few days. See what he said. Look at that, y'all. Look at that. Good God, man. I'm gonna share one dream. I had 2 dreams about floods. I'm gonna share one dream I had 2 years ago. I stepped outside my house in my dream, looked outside, and my cousin was flooded. my cousin was on like a paddle boat, and the water was like deep blue. It wasn't like muddy. So it's kind of muddy and stuff. The water was like deep blue, like it was like you're in a lake. And my cousin, I was like, damn, man. I said, yeah, cuz it's flooded. He was just in a paddle boat. He was staying. He was just sitting. He was stationary. But he was just in the boat, man. And it was like a vivid dream that, as far as the eye can see from my front door, it was never water. And another dream, I was like in a city, like let's say Miami. Let's say Miami, right? So I'm like in a city hall area. You know, if you ever lived in like a city, New York has these things. And Wall Street, they had these big giant steps. You go to like certain these buildings in New York, and this is how the building was. You know, had to step up. They said it's about to rain. Go inside the building, and we did. And they said, well, the water's coming in fast, so go up some more. So we went up 10 floors. And so it was coming in even more, go up some more floors. So we went up like 10 more floors. They kept telling us to go up, and we went up all the way up to 80 feet. As soon as we got to 80 feet, it was coming up to the 80th, almost like the 80th floor, so to speak. And then all of a sudden it stopped. And as we looking out the window of the city, because we was like in a high rise, the sun came in the city. It wasn't a regular sun. It was this big old, it was a sun that was probably the same size of it was probably the same size of the Washington D.C. Capitol, you know, the round part at the top of the Capitol. It was something like that, but a little bit bigger. But it was a sun. It was like a smaller sun, but it came and it was low, and it came in the came in the sky, and it just receded all the water. And that's my two dreams of floods, man. I had a couple years ago, and I had some videos I did. Told y'all earlier of floods that was happening in Iran and Brazil and Middle East, India, parts of Europe. And I said these floods are coming to America. Not the hurricane now. It's just regular rain, thunderstorms, and it's been happening. So this right here is scary in itself. All right, people. You guys smart enough. All right. Yeah. It's like 1:40, 12:40 is late, man. Y'all have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Tweezy, Lamar, Jahan. How you spell your name? Johanna? Yeah. So I'm gonna try to do more videos like this. I have to stop for a while, but I kind of like doing it. So, but when I saw you guys, I'm like, damn, I got some people on here, which was cool. So, all right, man, it's Wake Up Israel News with Chris Judah, man. And you guys be blessed. Have a great week. Be safe. See you next time. Shalom.